Hey everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here, and like many of you, last week, 2 weeks ago, I saw Avengers Age of Ultron. And before I get into my review, I just want to point out that that I'm going to start off with a few things, my opinion of the movie. Then when I start getting into specifics about why I liked it, I will be trying into some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, you probably want to wait on this review. But I'll give you a heads up right before I get into any spoilers. Anyways... Alright, so how would I describe this movie? I would say it is the best way to kick off your summer movie season. It's also one of the best Marvel movies. Well, I mean, all the Marvel movies are good, but I would say that this is just as good as the first Avengers movie, which if you saw my top 10, if you saw the video where I ranked the Marvel movies from last year, you'll know that number one on my list is Avengers. Well, now I kind of feel like I'm either going to push Avengers down to number 2, or this is going to be number 2 and Avengers 1. They're pretty neck and neck on my list right now, but yeah, it was a pretty fun movie. The returning actors show that they still show that they can bring these characters from the comics to life, which is very astounding. Also, we've got new characters coming in, which is great. What were some specific things I liked about it? Warning, this is where I'm going to get into some spoilers. If you don't want to, don't want to be spoiled, close the video, see the movie, then come back. And then debate with me in the comments below, like everyone else. Anyways, what did I like about this? Well, first of all, in this movie, the Avengers are fighting much more better as a unit. Basically, whenever they're in battle, they're able to call orders to each other, figure out a plan, predict each other's moves, heck, even working a few combos. Some of my favorite combo moves were done by Captain America and Thor when Thor would basically either hit the shield really hard to take out multiple targets, or use the shield as a lightning rod to send off a massive lightning strike. That was definitely pretty awesome. And also that opening sequence, though, where the Avengers are taking out Baron von Strucker's Hydra outpost, which we saw in the post-credit scene of Winter Soldier. That opening sequence where they just basically go and take the place down, that was just very, very beautiful, and it really set up the tone for this movie. That there is a lot more action in this movie than in the first one, I would say. And you know, the action is pretty great. You know, one scene you have the Avengers versus Hydra, then you have them fighting Ultron and the twins, then you have the Hulkbuster versus the Hulk, which is probably my favorite action scene in the entire movie. Just seeing the Hulkbuster take on the Hulk, that was pretty fun. Also, a fun fact, they don't actually call the armor Tony uses the Hulkbuster that in the actual film. I mean, yeah, they do use the term Hulkbuster on all the merchandising for the movie, but in the movie, Tony just calls it Veronica. And the funny thing is, Joss Whedon actually chose that name as a reference to Veronica Lodge from Archie Comics, because Bruce Banner fell in love with a girl named Betty, and Veronica's the opposite of Betty, so that was the appropriate code name for the Hulkbuster. But they did a good job with the Hulkbuster too. Right when Tony, it's not really a separate suit of armor, but really more of like an enhancement, because Tony's still in his regular standard Iron Man armor. When he puts on the Hulkbuster armor, it's kind of an extension. Also, he's got he's still got some probes following the suit in the area to help with damage control, and also replace any parts that get damaged while fighting the Hulk, which is very smart on Tony's part. Another Avenger that, all the Avengers, though, they seem to pretty much still have the same spark from all their movies. Captain America, he's still a very good leader. And Tony too. There is really a debate. I would really say there was a debate about who was the real leader of the Avengers, because in the field, I would say that's where Captain America takes charge. But outside the field, Tony, he's pretty much the big guy. He even in the beginning of the movie, Tony describes his role perfectly. He says, "Cap's the boss. Technically, Cap's the boss. I'm just the guy who pays for everything and makes everyone look cool." And that does start to come to light towards the climax of the movie, when they're about to create Vision is about to be created. More on that. But another Avenger that I thought got a bigger role in this movie was Hawkeye. Because if you remember the first Avengers movie, Hawkeye spent most of the movie being mind controlled by Loki. That's actually pretty useful because in this movie, because when they first encounter Ultron with the twins, Scarlet Witch has the ability to manipulate people's minds, and right when she's about to use the ability on Hawkeye, he's able to fight back and stop her before she gets the chance to use it on him, because of what happened with Loki, which was smart. And also after their first fight with Ultron and the twins ends with the Hulkbuster fight, Hawkeye's the one that pretty much takes them somewhere where they can all cool down and stuff, and it turns out it's his own little private farm where he has a wife and 2 kids and one on the way, which is definitely nice, and also a nice little nod to the ultimate incarnation of Hawkeye, which is really cool. And pretty much all the Avengers stay there and they recuperate, well, except for Thor. He goes to see Eric Selvig, then to go to some mystical pool of water that gives him visions of the Infinity Stones. But yeah, overall, I thought all the Avengers were really great in this movie. Though I do know that Black Widow definitely there was some controversy with Black Widow. I know a lot of people were debating about whether or not Black Widow was sort of downgraded in this movie because they thought of her as the damsel, because she was the one that got captured by Ultron right when they tried stopping him from uploading his mind to the Vision's body, and she was the one that got captured, basically putting her in a damsel in distress scenario. But I didn't really think of it like that. I really didn't. Overall, Natasha, she's very strong. Also, her relationship with Banner. I really didn't have a problem with it because I watched a few reviews of Age of Ultron, and some people stated that it kind of makes sense because Banner is probably the most emotionally charged member of the team because he gets angry and turns into the giant green rage monster known as the Hulk. Black Widow, though, she's very in control of her emotions most of the time, so I can kind of see how those two would probably spend some time together, especially Bruce. Even though he states that he can now control the Hulk, I think that statement was definitely proven wrong in this movie when Scarlet Witch was able to get him to transform, and he lost control. Anyways, next part of the movie that I liked, Ultron. James Spader as Ultron was actually very brilliant. Yeah, because basically Ultron in this movie, he's created by Tony Stark, and he's described as basically having a similar type of personality to Tony Stark's, and I kind of agree with it. When I heard Spader talking, it felt like he was an evil, darker version of Tony Stark without any trace of humanity, as if Tony was just all iron. I thought that was a good choice, and there was a difference in tone, I think, from the trailers, because in the trailers, Ultron's voice sounded a lot deeper, though. But afterwards throughout the movie, I think after his first body, it starts to sound a little more clearer and a bit more like a clearer version of James Spader's voice, which was very nice. Also, the suit. Also, They did keep up with the Ultron's constant need to upgrade his body whenever he fights the Avengers. And Ultron went through about, let me think here, the spare parts man body and the vibranium body. He went through almost like 4 bodies in the entire movie before getting onto his final form for the final battle and stuff. So yeah, Ultron is definitely a good foe for the Avengers 2. He is definitely the most powerful, especially since he's a computer consciousness. He can just go into when a body's destroyed, he can just go into the internet, and for the time being, until he can create a new one and put his body in that, which will be even stronger, thus creating more fight. And he also has the army of Ultron drones, which we saw in the trailers 2, which was nice. So yeah, Ultron, loved him. And now for the new Avengers, the newer characters that were added to the roster. Okay, first of all, I'm going to talk about Quicksilver. This version of Quicksilver, now, after everyone saw Days of Future Past, they're like, oh man, Marvel is so messed. Some people were like, oh man, Marvel is so messed up. There's no way it's going to be as good as Fox's wrong. I would say that this version of Quicksilver is almost as good as the version we saw in Days of Futures Past in his own right, because in Days of Futures Past, Quicksilver was only there for one scene, which was just to break Magneto out of prison, and after that we don't hear from him again, aside from a small appearance when Magneto's giving his speech. So in Days of Futures Past, he was really more of a plot device character, and yeah, I'm not going to deny it, that scene in the cafeteria was pretty awesome, but the Quicksilver we get in this movie is actually more substantial to the plot, as he and his sister, in this version, Wanda and Pietro got their powers from Hydra experiments with Loki's scepter, which, by the way, turns out is an Infinity Gem. Again, I'll get to that later. And also, and they help out Ultron initially because they want revenge on Tony Stark, because back in the day, when Tony still made weapons, one of the shells that was used to attack their apartment complex that killed their parents was made by Tony Stark, and they believe he's responsible for everything, and so they're kind of on Ultron's side until Scarlet Witch gets a vision of what Ultron's real plan is, which is going to wipe out the human race, and at that moment they don't want any part of this. And ultimately, though, Quicksilver does sort of become the hero of the movie when, at the end of the final battle, okay, and again, I cannot stress this enough, this is a big spoiler, so skip ahead. If you haven't seen this movie, I don't want to ruin this for you, okay? Quicksilver dies, and it's not like a big death in a way. Well, it is kind of surprising in a way, because what happens is during towards the final moments of the battle, where they're trying to evacuate everyone from the city that's being lifted up from Earth, that's going to be used by Ultron to wipe out humanity. As they're evacuating the city, Hawkeye goes back to rescue a little boy, and Hawkeye finds him, but then Ultron's drones are about ready to attack with machine guns on them, but fortunately Quicksilver shows up, and he's able to take the hit from all the bullets fired and save Hawkeye and the boy. And at the end of the movie, when Natasha gets an email from Hawkeye's wife that she had the baby, we find out that Clint named the baby's middle name Pietro after Quicksilver, which was very nice. So, in a way, I would say that this Quicksilver, if you want to see Quicksilver in a more plot-focused role, then this definitely made that version great. If you want to see a version that just quickly shows off his powers, see Days of Future Past. But overall, both versions were great in their own right, and Quicksilver's death in this does kind of put an end to the whole Fox versus Marvel Studios Quicksilver ownership debate. Right, and of course, if I mention Quicksilver, can't forget his sister, the Scarlet Witch. I liked how in the movie they basically made a clear definition about what the Scarlet Witch's powers are, because throughout all her time in the comics, the explanation has always shifted. First it was described as a mutant hex power. Then when she was on the West Coast Avengers, they said, "Oh, Wanda, you can actually manipulate probability." Then finally then it changes again, saying, "Oh, it turns out she's not. It turns out Wanda's actually channeling chaos magic." But then Brian Michael Bendis took over, and it turns out she was altering reality the whole time. And but in the movie, in Age of Ultron, we got a clear definition about what her powers are, even though they do make her seem a bit overpowered. They include levitation, energy blasts, and of course mind manipulation, which does help Ultron's plan and help her realize that Ultron's insane. And also she's the one that I felt was most changed by this experience, because at first when they realize Ultron's evil, they help Captain America when they find out that Tony Stark is going to do something with the vision body that Ultron created, and of course Cap's worried because he thinks Tony and Banner are going to create another Ultron. So they go try stop Stark and Banner, but it doesn't work. Vision's brought back, but then Wanda and Pietro agree to help out in the final battle. And first, Wanda's doing her best, but she becomes overwhelmed, and Hawkeye saves her, and he brings her into an abandoned building and tells her that he tells her it's okay if she's scared, and that if she's worried, he can find Pietro and tell him to pick her up, but he can't protect her and at the same time fight off the Ultron drones. So he tells her, you know, if you want to stay, that's fine. There's no shame in it, but if you walk out that door and fight, you're an Avenger now. And, you know, I think hearing that pretty much gave Wanda her courage and sparked her fire, and she went out there and she blew it up. She definitely helped turn the tide in favor of the Avengers. Okay, and of course I keep bringing this up, the Vision. I would definitely say now, there was an article I read on Dorkly that said Age of Ultron reviews, and they were all based on comments of people saying Vision, 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 and I agree. The Vision was definitely one of the best parts of the movie. Okay, and they did a good job, and I have to say, Marvel, they did a good job keeping the Vision under wraps throughout this entire time. All right, we really got any, particular footage of the Vision other than a few seconds in, I think, the third trailer where we just saw the Vision's eyes waking up. But yeah, first of all, the cool thing that, first of all, Vision, he does have his traditional powers. He can fly, shift his density, and also shoot energy blasts. But the cool twist that they put on this version of the Vision is that the gem on his forehead is actually an Infinity Stone, which I did say was in Loki's scepter. And it turns out it's the Mind Stone. And thanks to the Mind Stone, the Vision is able to use the stone to basically restrict Ultron's consciousness so that he can't escape into the internet right before the final battle, and he can only transfer in between his drones, and that's it. Also, Paul Bentley, who's been doing the voice of the Jarvis AI, he finally has an on-screen role, and he definitely did a good job portraying Vision. Because when Vision first wakes up and stuff, he basically tells the Avengers that he's neither Jarvis nor Ultron. He is a Vision, and also that he's not on Ultron's side, but he's on the side of life, and Ultron wants to destroy life, and he doesn't want to allow that. And here's the kicker. What finally lets the Avengers know they can trust the Vision? He lifts up Thor's hammer. Now, we all saw the teaser of everyone trying to lift up Thor's hammer, and they couldn't do it. Captain America was probably the closest, but ultimately the Vision, who's just been born, is able to lift up the hammer. And that ability also comes in hand during the final fight with Ultron too. But yeah, Vision was definitely, I would say, my favorite character of this movie. He really stood out, and ultimately he was the one that I think really helped the event. I know I said Wanda helped turn the tide in the Avengers' favor, but I think having Vision there was really their main gun the whole time. So anyways, also the ending to this movie was something I enjoyed too, because at the end, most of the team sort of splinters off again. Banner, during the final battle, during the confusion of the battle, as the Hulk, he escaped and left to go into exile again. Hawkeye decided to quit the team to spend more time with his family. Thor went back to Asgard. Tony quit the team as well. And basically now Captain America and Scarlet Witch Captain America and Black Widow put together a new team of Avengers that consists of Vision, the Scarlet Witch, War Machine, and Falcon. And just seeing all those guys lined up and Scarlet Witch in a real costume was epic. And I thought, okay, I cannot wait for Civil War. And this actually led to one of the only. And honestly, even though I think this movie is awesome and it's great, there are just two things that I have a grievance about. Number one, at the end of the final scene when we pretty much see the new Avengers line up and stuff, Cap looks at them and he basically says, Avengers, and right when he's about to say assemble, they cut to the credits. I was like, why? It's like the perfect ending line for this movie. Why did you cut only putting half of it? Why? That's so annoying. I mean, it was just, I'm like, why? This movie was awesome. Why did you have to ruin it like that? But, oh well, c'est la vie. The only other thing, though, that I do have to complain about is just the lack of Hank Pym. And Now, keep in mind, yeah, I get it. Hank Pym, he's not a big deal anymore. He's not a founding Avenger. He's not a founding Avenger. The audience may not actually understand who he is yet, but Ant-Man's coming out, so I figured that we could have at least gotten a nod or something to Hank Pym. Maybe if when Tony was explaining the idea of Ultron to Banner, he could have said like he got the idea from an article Hank Pym wrote about artificial intelligence or something like that. Just some sort of nod or mention to Hank Pym would have been great. I think would have been great, and that could have been a good lead into Ant-Man. So, but other than those two small things, this movie was very perfect. I enjoyed it. I have a feeling though that this is probably going to be. I think at the end of the summer, this is still probably going to be my #1 favorite. But yeah. Overall, if you haven't seen this movie, go out and see it. It is definitely one of the best Marvel movies that they've made. Okay, so that's it for me. Again, thank you for watching my video. What did you guys think of Age of Ultron? What do you think of my review? Do you agree with some of the stuff I say? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.